Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a definitely a little bit of a chilly morning.
But beautiful.
But beautiful.
When the sun is out, it's always just gives you that
fresh
energy.
spring morning that makes you feel
That's
good.
That's a good word for it. Fresh.
There you go. Like, dining al fresco. That slight
Fresco is the perfect word. Dining al fresco.
Exactly. It's the time of day in which you can dine.
Which you can
fresco.
this is a perfect day for a nice café con leche.
Café con leche, right? Exactly. So get your café con leche, get to your cozy spot, sit down and enjoy some Today y Mañana. Yeah. So I can't think of a better way to start the morning. So
and don't forget you got to like, share, and subscribe.
There you
That's
go.
That's very important.
Absolutely. So this way you can not miss any.
It makes
of
Alex
the
smile
artists.
every time you do that. I see.
It just makes me happy. Remember, I'm like,
I see him smile and said, somebody must have just liked that show.
He got it. Yeah, it's true. It gives me a nice big smile when somebody likes to share. So we always love that. Here on Today Mañana. We've got a great show lined up for you this morning. We're going to be joined very shortly by Breana Field. She is an artist and the owner of Brave Collaborative. Followed later in the show by Davi Leventhal, the artist and founder of the Fuxico project, among many other things that we'll talk about. So we got some fantastic artists joining us this morning, and we're very excited about it. Already got some people liking the show this morning. Dimitri Dretro, thanks for liking the show this morning. Clara Kosha, thanks for liking the show this morning. So we got already some big fans.
Absolutely,
some big fans of the show. As always, love being here on the I Love CVille Network set. We love being presented by Emergent Financial Services and powered by our good friends at Matias Yon Realty, by our friends Miguel and Chit at Craddock Serious Insurance, by Castle Hill Cider, and by Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I don't know about you, but I'm excited to.
I'm always excited. Yeah, I mean that's the best part of the show, right? To hear what our guests have to say.
Nobody really cares about our intro. They're like, Xavier, Alex, just dead to the desk, dead to the desks. So we are very excited to welcome to the show this morning Breana Field. She is an artist and the owner of Brave Collaborative. Breana, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's an amazing opportunity.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you on. So for those who don't know you, tell us just a little bit about yourself, how you first became passionate about art and painting.
Yeah, of course. So I've been a painter since I was a kid. I was very motivated by gifts. I was always finding anything, rocks, boxes, whatever, painting them, and I'd give it to you. And I would say from the time I was a kid, I'm going to be an artist when I grow up. Wow. And I went to art school. I painted my first mural at 18. Wow. It was a really fun experience. And then I painted a couple more while I was in school. Excuse me. And I thought then this could be a really cool business, traveling around and painting in people's houses. But I didn't really have the drive or wherewithal to work for myself. I was also in school for woodworking, not for painting. Oh. I saw the facilities at the art school, and I saw all the machines in there, and I thought, if I'm going to do a 4-year degree, I want to come out with a completely new skill, not something I've been working on. So after school, I really chased that, and I ended up working in wood shops and furniture companies and teaching wood shop classes, and got a little away from the painting. And then I wanted to move around and kind of accidentally fell into winemaking, and then ended up chasing winemaking harvests for 10 years all around the world.
I was going to say,
yeah,
very
so I really got pretty far from painting, and I stayed connected to it just by listening to what the people around me needed and wanted. And so I painted kind of on the side for different businesses I worked for, practical or artistic painting. I painted a mural in a hostel when I was traveling in India, and I painted a mural on the side of a barn while I was working on a farm in Ecuador. People would say, I kind of want to do this or that, and I'd say, well, you hired me to do this other thing, but I could do that. So I continued to develop a comfort with it, but wasn't really fully focused on it. And then, like a lot of entrepreneurs, kind of accidentally found my way back around to it. I was on a road trip from California to Virginia in the winter of 2020. And a friend bought a brand new house in Austin, Texas, and said, she was sending me pictures of all the white walls and said, come and paint in my house. And I said, Austin's not on the way to Virginia, and I haven't painted in years, so I don't know about that. But I ended up going and painting a mural and putting it on Facebook. And I had so many people interested in what I had done and invite me very sincerely to come paint in their homes. I'm fortunate to be from a really big family, and a lot of my cousins invited me into their homes, and that's how I started building a portfolio, was painting for friends and cousins. And after a few months of building a portfolio, I was really getting a lot of pressure from a lot of friends to keep going with this. They said, you found your thing, and it felt really good, you know. So I decided to start, you know, approaching it as an official business venture. And a friend showed me how to use Instagram. I got my first real clients, I guess I would say, you know, just strangers from the internet. And another friend built a website for me, and another friend did some digital design work, and we worked out a logo. A friend even made a decal to put on my truck for me, and I got some free life coaching sessions from another friend to help with
That's awesome.
the you know, imposter syndrome. And so it really was like the village of friendships raising me and convincing me that I didn't just have to do this as a side hustle, but I really had the ability to do it as a business.
So I'm curious. So when you do murals, right? Is it inspired by what you want to put on there, or do you kind of work with? I mean, especially if it's inside the house, I suspect. Do the owners of the house have an idea as to, I'd like to put this on the wall, or how does that work?
Yeah. So that's actually the key to the puzzle for me has been working with people.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was a kid, I was always painting as a present. I had a person in mind that I wanted to give that gift to.
Gotcha.
And then in school, they're guiding you kind of what to make and what skills to develop. And so then when you're released on the world and you could make or paint anything, maybe most artists think that's amazing, but I found the lack of limitations to be quite terrifying. And I thought if you could paint anything, and out of anything you choose this, it better mean something, you know? And I think I really struggled with that.
Right.
And so then just having the simple parameters set by a person saying, I like these colors, or this is my idea, or this is my passion, or this is really what memories I want to kind of commemorate with the mural, or how I want to feel when I walk in my space. Those limitations kind of start the creative wheels turning for me.
Okay.
And the mural for me is really, I mean, it's just a painting, and paintings are cool. But to me, it's an expression of that successful conversation with that client. And when I was working with friends and cousins, I was never designing or sketching anything. We were just talking throughout the whole process of the mural. And so when my first client said, well, can you do some sketches or designs? I said, no. You know, that's not how I've been doing this. And I've been really liking the process. And I've been very grateful to have people still continue to engage with that process for me. But the light bulb moment was that I need the person, I need the limitations that they kind of set to get the creative wheels turning.
Exactly.
And then what brings meaning to me is it's like saying we found the right words, we understood each other, we've listened to each other, and this is what we made together.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how does the process work? So like, okay, you meet a client, and is it trying to talk to them, you then start painting directly the mural, or is it like a long process where you kind of envision it in your head? I'm curious, since you don't do the sketches in advance and stuff, how does the process work between like when someone first reaches out to you and when you actually like?
Yeah, I mean, I make sure they have some sort of idea of what they want and ability to begin to communicate that. If someone says, I have no idea, well, then you can start the conversation by saying, why a mural versus just buying some art that you like?
Yeah.
Why do you want this to be created for you versus just going out and purchasing something you already resonate with? And going in their space is really helpful for me. And they say, I don't know what I like, but they've already made so many choices inside the space. And so just getting the conversation rolling, generally, even people that say they're not creative at all, they have amazing ideas. So yeah, it's generally people, if they approach me open for that conversation, I can convince them to continue to work with my process.
So I'm curious. So how difficult? So from what I'm kind of reading from you, if you're working with somebody, you'll create a few sketches, or in other words, here's a sketch of kind of a conversation, and eventually you get to the point where it's like the person.
No, but there was no sketches.
No, there's no sketches whatsoever.
I've done a couple that are like 2 minutes to show someone like the the size of something compared to maybe a piece of furniture in the room, but that's it. Yeah.
So you basically
really, I prefer to do
so
that.
you just talk, and then you just have this wall and you begin to paint.
Yes,
And,
but
I
I'll
mean,
paint
to me,
over.
that seems like awesome. You have
I'll
this
paint
huge
over
wall.
stuff.
It's like,
I don't care.
how big do I make this guy's head or this house on this wall? Or
I've painted over an entire mural before. I worked on it for 4 days, and I decided I'd missed the mark, and it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what the client wanted. I rolled over it, and I started again.
So you start again. So you have to paint the whole thing like white or
Yes.
whatever. Oh.
I've never had a desk job in my life, ever. I've worked in a bunch of different industries, and I've never even had a job where I sit. So it doesn't interest me to sit there and try to figure out what something's going to look like before it's even started.
Wow.
It's like pulling out the soul of the process, you know? And it's like going on a hike when you already know what the view is at the end. It's like, I just...
Wow, that's
it's
amazing.
very unexciting to me to think we're going to start this huge project.
That's the
And this is
analytical
exactly
mind.
what it
Yeah,
looks
that's
like.
me. It's like
That's the analytical
you gotta
mind.
do the
Like, no, you
numbers
got to do
first.
this.
Right. Well, that's what makes me excited to come back the next day and the next day and really work on it, because even I don't know. And so I tell people I'm going to be very receptive throughout the process. The beginning painting is just a continuation of the conversation. It's not, now the conversation is over and I'm going to paint now. You know, every day I consult with the clients and we walk through what's working, what's not. And I've painted over a lot of stuff, and I just prefer that process.
And I'm just curious, do people usually like have, and maybe this is too much information for you to give us, but do they have like scenery? Do they have people that they knew? Do they have a surrealism, things like Dali stuff in there? I mean, what is it that most people like on their murals, on their walls?
I've done some hand-painted wallpaper type things, you know, and some abstract stuff. So that's kind of these more design elements. And then I've done, different imagery that people resonate with. I've done a lot of plant life and nature type murals. People really like that stuff in their space. It's very lively and fun, but also calming.
Right.
All different types of things.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and some of them are rolling on the screen. If you're watching, you can see them. I particularly like there's that blue circular one.
Yes.
That's like it's almost like a design. It's more not calligraphy, but like you said, more of an abstract
mandala
design.
Yeah, it's a mandala.
A mandala. There you go. And then there's the undersea.
Yes.
Mural.
I've done a couple. I've done, I think, 3 that are sea life motivated. Yeah.
That's pretty nice. Someone who really loves the nautical.
So you feel like you're in an aquarium or something, right?
Yeah,
I did a baby's room that feels like you're underwater or on the beach.
That's
And then I
good.
did one at a water park in Northern Virginia.
It's calming and restful.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that you can translate that onto a wall on such a large canvas, essentially.
Thank you.
That you can do.
Do you have to use special paint for that, or just?
I
latex
use
paint?
house paint, which
paint.
has its limitations. It dries quite quickly, so rendering it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah.
You have to really learn to work with the medium you're using. But I think it has the most integrity for longevity of being in someone's home. So I've kind of just trained myself to work with house paints.
And do you use like big brushes, rollers, or everything?
Oh, I have all the brush
you have all the
friends.
tools,
Yes,
you have
tons of
little
brushes.
ones too?
Yeah, tiny ones,
imagine
tons
that.
of those, all the way up to, brushes you'd paint a house with.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. It's just
That's
so,
a special talent.
Thank you.
It really, what I'm kind of getting from you is that the conversation is like an integral element of the design of the mural. How do you what is the importance, you would say, of conversation to that design?
So for me, it has 2 purposes. One is, I think we briefly talked about, just setting limitations on something and then bringing meaning to it. It serves both of those purposes to me. And an analogy I like to use, I've also cooked for a job before, and you think, well, if someone takes you in the fanciest grocery store in town and says, you have an unlimited budget and 12 people are coming to your house next week, what do you do? Like, it's too many options.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think, I like scallops. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if someone says, okay, you're in a Food Lion, you've got $200, 12 people are coming to your house tonight, all of a sudden I have a million ideas. And life has limitations, and I think everybody's going through their life trying to just do their best within their perceived set of limitations. And the people I think that are happiest are the ones that are able to see those and maybe, push against them a little.
Gotcha.
And that creates that creative drive and that challenge. So even someone just saying, this is my reason for wanting a mural, these are the things that matter to me, and these are the colors that I like, then it turns it more into like a life project. You have your limitations set, and now the goal is to push against those and do the best that you can. And then it really deeply matters to me to make that client feel heard and to feel like that was a really successful conversation and connection. So then instantly the mural means something. And it made a lot of sense to me, too, as someone that was really motivated from the time I was a little kid all through my teen years by making presents. Well, it's the gift, It's that person's. That person belongs, that mural belongs to that person from its infancy. And so it also kind of requires a bit of removal of the ego of the artist to connect with that person. So, yeah, I really believe deeply in, I love words and finding the right words, and I write for fun. And so just finding the right words for the mural is really meaningful for me.
Oh, that's interesting. So sometimes the mural also has words.
To describe it.
To describe it.
I just, write poetry late at night when I should be sleeping. But yeah, I just have a passion for words and for finding the right words. And I'm constantly reading and everything, so it allows me to kind of bring that interest in conversations and verbal and written communication and words into the painting process.
Now, was there any? I'm asking all the questions.
No, just
was there any artist that inspired you the most over time?
Probably artists that I worked for as an assistant back in the years right when I was kind of finishing school. Just because she was working so diligently. And I looked at her going into her studio every day, and I thought, I'm not passionate enough to do this. I don't know what I'd paint if I had my own studio, and I just don't know about all this. So I had to find my own process. Right. But she's been very inspirational to me throughout the years of the self-doubt. And she reminded me that you don't have to go to school to figure out what you're doing for the rest of your life. You just have to go to school to grow up, and learn to live a better life. And she also said that you don't have to be creating work to be an artist, and that helped me a lot. I felt like I hadn't abandoned that origin or what I wanted to be when I grew up. It wasn't abandoned. That part of being an artist is just how you experience your world and process your world and cultivate relationships and create your life. So yeah, she just helped me a lot as far as continuing to believe that it might be my path, I suppose.
Yeah. No, that's very good.
That's
very
amazing.
Good.
We got some people liked in the show. John Miller liked in the show this morning. Shannon Fowler says, so proud of you, sister friend. So she thanked you, Shannon, for joining us this morning.
Shannon.
And so, I think what I love is the idea of the process and how it seems like the getting there is almost as beautiful as like the finished product in a sense.
Oh, for me, it's awesome when you finish a project. Of course, every artist loves that. You roll up your drop cloth, you take your pictures, and I like to go sit somewhere and have a glass of wine by myself and run through like a gratitude inventory of that's my tradition, run through a gratitude inventory of what brought me that client, what made that project go well. But that's not really what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the moment when the client walks in the room and says, girl, that's exactly what I wanted. And sometimes that's exactly what I wanted. How did you pull it out of my head? And sometimes it's exactly what I wanted, but I didn't know. And so how did you figure it out? And that comes at different points in the process. And after that moment for me, I just have to finish it. Yeah. So that's really what I'm living for.
That's amazing.
Do you ever find that sometimes the process of like a client talking with you and you conversing with them to figure out what they want also like clarifies for them, like they learn something about what they love and value and what's important to them, because maybe they go into it saying I just want a mural, but then you're kind of drawing out what they actually value in life.
Yes, absolutely. Just getting someone to talk through it, and sometimes it becomes kind of a lesson of teaching someone a bit of an artistic vocabulary and using different adjectives. And sometimes it's more challenging than others. And it's really interesting because sometimes I'll think they understand and then I realize, well, they didn't understand at all. Okay, so how can I rework what I've said and what they're saying? How can we better understand each other? And I'm sure that's why it's easy for some people to just create different design iterations and say it could look like this or this or this or this. But that process of creating those doesn't interest me. The process of continuing to dig and cultivate that conversation really does interest me.
Well, I think it's like you said, you're taking, in many ways, the ego of the artist out of it, because if you give someone here's 7 variations of what you did. Those are like your 7 variations. And they might say,
that's an
well,
interesting point.
that one's the closest. Just go with that one.
Yes.
Instead of like them being involved to create that which is their variation, their actual, even if they don't know it yet. When just as someone who loves
what they
writing,
would have created if they could.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
If they understood, they had that talent. That's what was deep inside them that you kind of like brought out. And just as a writer, I love the idea of sort of through art, you're teaching people also a new vocabulary, a way to express.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes the hardest thing people have is you have images or thoughts or feelings, but how do you express them in a way that you actually translate into a mural on a wall?
Right.
And you learn something about yourself by the process of expressing that.
Yes. And my clients have pushed me in ways where I have to admit the work is better. I'll think it's going well, and they say, this is great, but it's not really what I imagined. And then it can be a bit disheartening, and then you try to figure it out. But several times when that's happened, at the end, I think, dang, that's a much better piece because of the way they pushed me. But I also have to learn to say no, and then they have to learn to say no as well, because sometimes I really do think the client maybe doesn't have the best artistic sensibility about what we're doing, and I kind of have to push back, and sometimes they're saying, I don't know about that, and they kind of have to push back. So it's finding that balance as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really, brave is my favorite B word, which is why it's on my business. But it really is quite brave of clients to engage with my process of just developing trust over conversation. And yeah, it's a really interesting thing.
It's an enormous dynamic, right? I mean, it's a terrific dynamic to be able to do that. You have to, like you said, discuss this with your client, and they're trying to envision what is on the wall. They don't know it, and you got to come up with that and kind of working together.
Yep.
One, it's got to be tough, and two, then at the end, it's when
satisfying.
it works, it's like, wow, yeah.
Yes.
That's probably the best part. Like you said, when somebody says, wow, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know.
That is the best part. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what was it like? What's it like to have taken that plunge and now to, in essence, be an entrepreneur of your art as well? Yeah. What's that side of it like?
It's every feeling all at the same time. Yeah, I mean, months when you're busy, I think I'm a literal genius. And months when I'm slow, the imposter syndrome is really, it really kind of creeps up on you.
Yeah.
And I really tether myself to the encouragement of my friends that helped me get my business off the ground, and to my clients that have been so wonderful to work with. So it can be really, really scary. My traveling life, working seasonally, taught me well to kind of weather the ups and downs of money management. So I was well prepared in that way than maybe more people as far as entering entrepreneurship. But it's amazing and it's terrifying.
No, it is. But I love the idea. It's so true. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs we talk to, and it's that support group of their family and their friends that really keep the north. There's always going to be ups and downs, tough times and good times. But in those tough times, to have people say, you know what, remember why you're doing this. That we all believe that you can do this, and you yourself know it. But it's just in those downtimes that you said the imposter syndrome kicks in and then tries to convince you that you don't know why you're doing this. But like deep down, there is that passion that's still.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. Rob Scher says, bravo, awesome, great interview. Loved listening to your articulate expression of your passion and talent.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
So
it's true.
It's very true, very true. So, Breana, before I let you go, what's the best way people can get in touch with you, contact you, especially if they're interested in having you come visit their home?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a website, www.bravecollaborative.com. I'm also on Facebook under Brave Collaborative, Instagram under Brave Collaborative, and my email is bravecollaborative@gmail.com.
Perfect. It's super easy. Just Brave Collaborative across Facebook, Instagram, Gmail, and the website.
A deciding factor coming up with I had lots of different ideas, but
it's a smart, that's a smart move.
Important things for me.
Yeah. Just remember one thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Well, Breana, it's been such a pleasure.
It's been
Your
Thank you
artwork
for having me.
is
I
so
really
lovely,
appreciate
and I
it.
just love talking about the creative process with
Yeah.
you. It's an amazing way that
Inspiring,
you work,
very
and the
inspiring.
results. Yeah, it's an inspiring way that you work, and the results really
Yeah.
show because it's beautiful,
Thank
beautiful
you.
artwork.
This has been an amazing way to get to know Charlottesville. I really appreciate you
Oh,
guys.
fantastic!
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, as we go ahead and swap from one great artist to another.
Another, yeah, exactly.
You know, just
Like I tell you, I'm always impressed with the ability that people have to show their talent, right, in different ways. And you know, again, I mean, I think of just little pictures. You know, we have to draw on a little, you know, even a 4x4. That's almost to me impossible on a mural. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
how do I even start?
How to
And
just-
I paint the walls. That's easy,
Yeah.
but
no, it's
do
just
something.
as you know. I mean, writing is the art form that I tend to lean towards.
Right.
Just, so it's just as a writer, I get all these images in my head and I can describe them with words, but I just appreciate so greatly the talent that people can take those images and actually express them on a wall. Like you can
Yeah.
actually see the result.
Well, so I
That's
guess
just- I just
so. Think about
appreciate
this.
that so
think about it
much.
this way, right? So when you're writing, right? So you've got poetry, which I know poetry, short stories, and novels are somewhat different, right? But I mean, a poem is pretty short. So if you can get your images, like haiku for Pete's sakes, it's like 3 lines, right? So if you get that image into 3 or 4 lines, right? That's one way of doing it. So if you're very good at that, then all of a sudden you have to write a novel. I mean, that's going from a small thing to a big thing. So now you have to, how do I do that? How do I take what I know and put into this
larger size.
right? So that's
It's just so
that's it.
impressive.
In every
be able to do that.
I think in every artist has those challenges. Some people are just so good at it.
Absolutely. And from one
Another
great artist to another great artist, or a man of many talents as well. So we're excited to welcome to the show Davi Leventhal. He is an artist. He is the founder of the Fuxico project. He's an interpreter at James Madison's Montpelier. He does so many amazing things.
Wow.
And so we're just very excited to have him on the show this morning. Davi, thanks for joining us.
Good morning,
Thank
Davi.
you so much for having me, guys. And
Nice.
like I'd like to say, because I'm Brazilian, so Xavier is how we
Very
say
good.
my name in Alex.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for
Perfect.
having me on. Very excited.
No, same here. So we're very
I haven't
excited
been called
as well.
Xavier in such a long time, but
Well,
that's
it's
that's
in
the way.
in Catalunya.
So in Catalonia, that's how you pronounce it. So thank you. Please my
Absolutely.
memories.
So, Davi, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and also how you first became interested in art and expressing yourself artistically.
Well, I was originally born in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and my family moved here to Roosevelt Island, New York City, when I was 2 years old, where I grew up. I love people, and I've been a professional artist for years in New York, working with major institutions there, such as MoMA, Guggenheim Museum, the Park Avenue Armory, etc.
Wow.
And I started with art at an early age, like most of us creative people. I was one of those kids in the class that would always do caricatures of my teachers, mocking them. And this is actually hilarious, where this was in 5th grade. A teacher of mine found some of these drawings, because I would pass them around to my friends. You know, and one of them found these drawings, and then every Monday morning, he would put up the projector on the screen, which nowadays, who knows, is probably Bluetooth, right? But he put a projector of sort of the curriculum for the week. So we slog in early on Monday morning, come sit at the desks, and then boom, projector goes on, light goes off, and it's my caricature of him. Everyone in the class starts cracking up. I sink down into my seat, right? I go, if there was one day I could have stayed in bed, it should have been this one. But the teacher was wonderful. He cracked up. He loved it.
Yeah.
So he celebrated it.
goodness.
So I always had a knack for drawing. I never really took it very seriously until senior year in high school, when I was like, hey, wait, I got to go to college. What am I going to do? And so I always had this skill with drawing, and so I created a portfolio and so forth, and that got me into Pratt Institute, and the rest is history after that.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So tell us, what are some of you're involved in a number of art projects here.
Yes.
What are some of the art projects you're involved in here? We can talk about Fuxico project and some of the others.
Yes, so I created the Fuxico project. So I studied painting, drawing, even Renaissance-style painting as well, ground pigments and all that stuff, making my own gesso, etc.
Wow.
I'm a big history nerd and so forth. And so I started with that, but I also utilize a textile craft that I grew up with in Brazil called fuxicos. Fuxicos, the great thing about it, it has a double meaning, because in Portuguese, fuxicar is to gossip. And so this is a textile craft that I saw the power, the unique power within, to connect with people, to make bridges with people, because it's little leftover fabrics that people make little flowers from, or flower designs, and they attach one to the next to make all kinds of things in Brazil. Tabletop covers, bed covers, dolls. I even have Christmas trees that my mom and aunt made for me. So I saw the symbolism in that, is that these little fuxicos are like us, right? And that when we're able to make bridges with one another, we can create big and greater things. And so this is one of the projects, my aspects of my practice, is to utilize this craft, where I collaborated with a dear friend of mine, childhood friend, Julia Equi. Miss you, she's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, professional photographer. We collaborated on this, where we went into the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, which are the shanty towns, to seek out women who knew how to make this craft.
Right.
And to sit with them, for them to teach me. And we documented the whole process. I created artwork from this. But, you know, and once you sit with them to do this, you can't help but gossip.
Yep.
Right? The aspect of the gossip was me asking about their life story. So, like I said, I love people, and art is one of the most powerful mediums. It's truly amazing. Like you guys were talking before, and Breana and so forth. It transcends languages, right? I mean, it's not by chance Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, right? So I utilized that to make bridges with these women, so I could help uplift their voices, which have been unheard their whole lives. And we mounted an exhibit that was presented in New York City and so forth. And so with that, I use these fuxicos and teach people how to do this. Is, you know, there's just one step away from these women in these favelas in Brazil, you know, and teach them about their story, and to also take on other people's stories. So that's what my process is based on, is people's stories. That's why I, you know, been a professional artist in New York City for many years, moved here to Central Virginia, Orange, Virginia, 2.5 years ago, because of the pandemic, but also because my partner, her family's from Virginia. So it made a lot more sense to get away from the big city, move to a more rural area, where also I might have more impact and to share more of my work with people. And so I worked with the Art Center in Orange, which my partner heads, worked with the Boys and Girls Club, doing workshops with fuxicos, teaching children there about Brazilian culture, about the stories of these women, and so forth. So it's been amazing. I did a residency program at LaGuardia Airport for this project, and I had people from Iran, I had people from all over the world sit with me to learn. And the incredible thing is that when you sit with someone and you engage in a creative task, all the walls fall away. So it was incredible that people were just opening up to me about personal things and so forth. So that's the power of art, and that's what I try to utilize through my craft in painting, drawing, and also this textile medium as well. Now, since being here, I've been very fortunate as well to work at the James Madison Montpelier. Started working last year, and it just goes hand in hand. I'm an interpreter there. So like I said, I'm a history nerd. I love it. So learning about all the history there of the voices of the unheard from the past as well has been so enriching and powerful. It just feeds into my work, inspires me even more. So also, could I plug an event for Montpelier?
Absolutely.
All
Right.
My colleagues, they do an amazing job there. Go visit. It's incredible what they're doing, the mission. But there's a wonderful event coming up during spring break for kids and family. It's called We the Kids Day. It's on April 5th. It's a day full of activities, scavenger hunt, gifts, there are prizes, there are tours, there's garden masters there teaching how to pot plants and everything. So there's food. It's going to be an entire day of an event. So please come. I'm going to be there. A number of my colleagues will be there. It's a beautiful landscape, beautiful history.
All the grounds are
stunning.
Exquisite.
So
Exactly.
And as an artist, it's very inspiring, the landscape and everything, the sunset, sunrise, all of it. So come out. It's worth it for the family. You could check it online at montpelier.org. At the events section, but it's been so incredible learning about all this stuff, working with these other people, because as I said, I grew up between cultures as well, so my influence from Brazil gives me a different perspective about the history at Montpelier as well. There are a lot of similarities and so forth, but it just keeps feeding the inspiration that I work with.
I just love the notion. I feel like in many ways, you with your art, you connect with people across space and time.
Yes.
In essence, because I think even though like Fuxico is like a particular expression of the textile art in Brazil, right? I think that every culture around the world can sort of reach back to the memory and say, this is that thing which we used to do together.
Exactly.
Right? And when it's like you said, when you're engaged in a common purpose, but the end goal of which is beauty, the creation of beauty. So it's not a common purpose that might divide, but it's a common purpose that everyone can unite.
Because
we all love beauty and we all appreciate beauty. And so I think maybe that's why those walls start to come down. You say, well, here we are. It really doesn't matter that you're from Iran or I'm from here, or that maybe in Iran they didn't do Fuxico with textiles, it was a different form, or maybe in Cuba they had their own little art form and it wasn't making little flowers together, but it was something like that you would get together and do, but the pursuit of beauty is the same.
Yes.
And so you can join together in that.
Yeah, it's that sort of engagement together to create something beautiful, right? And something that you learn from as well. You learn from each other, but also you learn a craft, you learn a technique. Even going back to Native American cultures, beading, all of it, we live around art. Everything is art. So it's so powerful and wonderful. I had people from India even tell me, I grew up with the same kind of craft in India. So like you said, it's global, so it's amazing to make these connections and be part of it.
Well, when you think about it, if you go back in history, right? So how many times do you go to a museum and you see artifacts of little pots and little whatever it may be, dishes or whatever, way back, right? And it's all the creativity, and you can imagine. I mean, and granted that back then they might have used some of it to eat on or to cook on, but we've seen miniatures, and the miniatures aren't used for anything. It's just the creativity. So I think we all have that creative urge, right? And some of us are able to kind of put it to I guess in a form and express it in a way that others just have a challenge. But in a way, we're all we all like to create things, right? And then, like me, the reason I like the garden is because I put a seed and it grows, and I think I did that, right? Not that I did much other than water it, but it just feels good. It's like it's growing, right?
Right.
And so, but I just wanted to ask you on the Fuxico, it's called, right? So you literally learned how to do Fuxico?
Yep.
Or because I was trying to get a feel for when you work with these ladies, did you work with them, or in the connection did you draw something where you would draw them doing it or anything of that sort?
No, I worked with them.
Okay.
So the crux of the project was because Fuxico is also in Brazil. It's more common, mostly, that women do this craft. Right, men is sort of kind of a taboo for them. We don't do that kind of stuff, So I was also purposely sitting with them for them to teach me how to make this, because breaking that gender barrier, but also engaging, interacting with that. So they're teaching me how to make this, and in that we're talking, and I'm asking about their life story, and I'm the one that benefited the most from it. It's truly, truly amazing how humbling it can be. For example, there was a lady, Dona Maria, one of the favelas, that she invited us into her home. She has a tiny little shack home. We arrived there. She was so happy, so ecstatic. She said, "Oh my God, you're an artist from New York City. Oh my God." I said, No, it's about you, Dona Maria. And she said, "Okay, give me 1 minute. Do you guys want coffee or anything?" And as you guys know, one of the first things Brazilian will offer is coffee.
Of course,
instead of tea. And so we're just like, no, what could we give you? And she goes, "Just excuse me a second." She went 2 doors down to her sister's house because she wanted to put on her best clothes. And she came back. And so, that exchange, she was just, ear to ear smiles. And that's the power, is that giving people the attention, allowing them to speak through what we artists do, to then share with others, is something truly beautiful.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, there's nothing
And probably
like
one of the, for someone like that, probably one of those few moments where someone came and said, "I actually am here to listen to you."
Yes.
Because how infrequently must that happen?
Yeah.
Right.
In the course of that, in the course of their life, to say, "No, I am actually here for you. I'm here to
hear
listen to
your
what
story.
you want to say, not to tell you something, but to listen to
It
you."
makes them feel
Exactly.
alive and important, right? It makes them feel like I can now share this with somebody. Somebody recognizes that this is something that is beautiful.
Right. Right.
I just realized, what are some? Oh, and I shouted Anna Pillow from the Art Center in Orange, loving the show this morning. She's loving the show, so thank you, Anna, for watching. What are some of the? I'm curious. What are some of the other mediums that you enjoy working with? And I mean, we have some of your artwork on the screen for those who are watching on Facebook. You can see it go by. What are some of the other mediums you enjoy working with?
So, as I said, I studied realism. Even went to Renaissance style painting to get that technique down, because I looked up to other artists before me. For example, Picasso for his craft, right? Not person, like everyone, has
exactly.
different
With art, you
opinions.
always have to do that.
But the technique, the craft, he was, if people aren't aware, he was brought up from very little child. His father was a master painter, and his father trained him to become a master painter. So by the age of 9, he was already doing masterworks of realism. That him being steeped in that foundation allowed him to branch out and create all these different movements of art, like Cubism and Blue Period and so forth. So I was going after that, to have that sort of classical foundation, so then I could build upon that. Right. So I love surrealism, getting into that sort of magical arena, but I also do illustrations. That I've worked with other entities, such as a Brazilian record label called Not Another in Brazil, comprised of 5 DJs. And just like Breana was saying earlier, it's that exchange. It's the engagement. And then what we do, what we're great at, bringing that, elevating that to make that bridge and have a beautiful result from that. And so these 5 DJs, they wanted an album cover. I designed this whole campaign with them, that I created one piece that represented all of them, where everything was interconnected. And my work always is about that the interconnectedness of life itself. And so they mounted multiple album campaigns from that one piece, and then the last album they launched was the entire piece itself, bringing it all together. So, one of the processes, that you guys were mentioning before, how do you bridge that? How do you work with others to sort of execute what they have in mind in their head in a way that meets their goals, right? And so I narrowed it down to, let's say in this example, these DJs, give me 3 words that describe you.
Oh, interesting.
And so within that, and then back and forth, and then I would do sketches, send it to them, see if it was to their liking or not, tweak things if it wasn't, and then from that I just ran with it. And they loved it. It was amazing. It was an amazing exchange because they were creative people as well, which was different because I've had clients who don't have a foot in creativeness. And a lot of times they have in their mind what they want. They don't really know how to express it or explain it, but they also want to micromanage the project, right? It's sort of like someone wanting to go to the restaurant, wanting to order a steak, but then telling the chef how to cook it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get that a lot as an artist. So it's about mitigating that and reassuring them that no, I'm professional here. I understand composition, color, all this stuff. I'm going to marry all these things in the best way I can envision it that will meet all the requirements you're looking for. And hey, maybe it'll come out to be something even better than you were imagining, which happens a lot.
It's true. It's true because you work with people, and as you said, that when you begin to learn how to express, you grow as the person, but then you're able to then better help the artist understand how to execute
exactly
that because you're expressing it better. And sometimes I would imagine sometimes it's kind of like drawing teeth a little bit to get peeling the layers of the onion to get back there.
It can, because they're excited about it, right? Like if, I've done murals before too, and so if a client's like, oh, I want this mural in my house, this is what I want. This is what I have in mind. You go, okay, what if I use this kind of color? What about this? And how about this perspective or this? So you start showing them different angles of what it can be.
Yeah.
Right? And reassuring them that, no, I know what I'm doing. I understand. Oh, you don't like that? Then, okay, let's tweak it a little bit to your liking. So it's that marrying process, like Breana said.
You open up their world a little bit to things they may not have considered. I mean,
they push you and you in a way.
Exactly. I mean, if I said, paint a mural in my house of a house on a hill, because that's the only thing I know how to draw, right? and I just gave you my house on a hill, you'd be like, I think you could also do this and do that, but I have to move beyond my little drawing of a house on a hill to say, there's so much more that this could be.
Right. But also, as the artist, you have to abide by the client. So if they want just that house, then do that house. If you're willing to do it that way.
Exactly.
And so forth. But,
exactly. Well, Andre Xavier, a good friend of the show, he says, being from Brazil himself. Andre Xavier, he runs, he's got Patch Brewery. He's a great entrepreneur here at Patch Brewery. He does.
I've been to Patch Brewery. I loved it.
Hop on CVille tours. Andre Xavier, he's from Brazil as well. So
irmão.
And he says he greatly appreciates your interest in the marginalized craft of the favela. It's very inspiring.
Yes. So that's basically what I do, is to uplift the voices of the unheard, through the power of art.
Yeah,
which is an amazing privilege I have to do.
Which is a beautiful thing.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Yeah, I mean that's a beautiful thing about art. You can do that, whether it be photography, whether it be writing stories. Because how many stories? I mean, you look at some novels and you realize the background of the novels is where that person lives, right? It may be the characters may be creative, but the story itself, you start reading, you say, wait a minute, this is where he lived, this is how people acted, this is how people thought about the universe per se. So that's the nice thing about art. It really does highlight that, as you said, the voices of the unheard.
Yeah, and also opens worlds.
Big time.
Like books and so forth. Different perspectives.
You think about when you go on vacation, I mean, at least us, when you go on vacation, one of the places you always want to go visit is the museum, right? Because you want to see the artwork that, whether it be, from way back time or just current, right? But you just want to see, the artists that were so creative that they're in a museum or in an art gallery or whatever. You do that because that's part of where you go. That's part of the history. That's
the cultural treasures of the world.
Yeah. That and the food, we love it.
Yeah, especially the food.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. which I was hoping there would be some café con leche here, but...
He drank it all. He drank it. It never gets here.
All right.
If Nick was here, he would have brought it, but he's on vacation.
Right.
So he would say,
maybe
my
next
assistant.
time.
Next time
now we know.
For sure. So, Davi, before we let you go, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and to reach out and to net?
I have a website, www.davileventhal.com. You can find info about my Fuxico project on that, and you can reach out to me there. examples of my work, portraitures, landscapes as well, and so forth. So yeah, that's the best way to reach out to me, and hope to hear from you soon.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you go to it, especially if you're watching on the live stream of Davi Leventhal on his Facebook page, you can also, there is the link to the Fuxico project there as well.
Yep.
That you just click it and go straight to the website, along with, the James Madison's Montpelier, which is April 5th.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
April
fun
5th.
day for kids to just
For kids and
families to come
family,
out.
there are activities for adults, for children. I mean, it's going to be amazing. There, open house tours, everything. It's going to be a full day.
That's
Fun
fantastic.
day.
No better way to introduce your kids to the beautiful location and history that is Montpelier.
History,
Exactly.
art,
Than to bring them on a
nature.
fun day and get them
Yeah.
to just see the beautiful area and then begin to connect with that history
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yep, and I'll be there too. Just a
So there you
little
go.
Extra
You get to
perk.
meet- Extra perk,
Yeah.
exactly. You get to go meet Davi.
Yeah.
Davi, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Thank
this
you
morning.
guys for having me.
Muchas
Thanks.
gracias.
Mucho gusto. Thank you so much.
How would you say muchas gracias in Portuguese?
Muito obrigado.
Muito
Muito
obrigado.
obrigado.
Muy obrigado. Huh?
Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys.
Thank you, Davi.
it. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic interview. We just
This has
love.
been fun. I mean,
It's
this is
been
fun.
so much
you know?
fun. I just
Yeah.
love connecting with the passion.
Well, it's
and the,
just, again, I mean, even the type of art that he was discussing, from the Brazil.
It's
I mean,
amazing
just
that you have
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I got to take a look at it. But yeah, it's inspiring how people just find ways to create, right?
Yeah.
You just look around and sometimes you go, wow, how did they do that? How did they come up with
and
that?
say this is all I have, but I can still make
Yeah,
beauty with
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
this. It's amazing.
Like in the old days with the stitching, right? The cross stitch and things like that. You used to see that all the time because there was no internet, no TV, no radio. It was hard to read back then with a candle. So women did a lot of that work, and it's just beautiful. You look at it now, you go, that's just a lot
amazing.
of you can see that it takes a long time
the
to
patience.
do. And the patience.
Probably a
yeah.
great way. I bet you working with Fuxico is also probably a great way to build patience, build the virtue of
Patient.
patience.
And I bet
have
you women do it together, so they connect,
Oh,
they
yeah, of
discuss,
course.
they talk, they chat. So it's an interaction, right? And wow, this has been
Beautiful thing.
exciting.
It's been a
yeah.
great show. Really, really loved every minute of it. And next week, got another artist. We got a little mix next week. So we're going to have on Katie Brandish from Katie B Glass Art.
Okay.
And so a new medium.
New medium,
also art.
absolutely.
And then we're going to have Zachary Jackson. He's the Solarfi guy.
Oh.
So he's doing some solar installation.
Solar.
So he got some.
Beautiful.
So two different types of businesses.
Absolutely.
We're going to mix it up a little next week
Need
on the
everything.
show.
All entrepreneurs are welcome.
Exactly. All entrepreneurs are welcome. And if you know out there in the audience some amazing entrepreneurs and artists that you want to bring on the show, be sure to send them our way. We'd love to feature them and have them on because it's what we love to do.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's what we're here for.
Highlight them, and you learn. I mean, that the one thing I always say, it doesn't matter how old you are. The most important thing is always continue to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you stop doing that, I think you're in trouble.
Absolutely. Rita Sign, thanks for watching the show this morning, or Rita Cine. I'm not sure which way to pronounce it, but thanks for liking the show this morning.
Is there an accent on the E?
No, there isn't, but I
just
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure which one, but sometimes Facebook can't.
No, I know.
put them.
I'm just
So just
Yeah.
in case, wanted to cover it both
Yeah.
ways. Maybe that's my Spanish speaking, doing
Yeah.
Cine in Spanish. But thanks for liking the show this morning. Thanks to everyone who sent us comments. Andre Xavier, thanks for commenting. Just really appreciate everyone for reaching out this morning and connecting with the show.
Yeah,
So
it's been
thank
great.
you for being here with me.
As always, it's glorious to be here, and boy, you come in sometimes you don't know what awaits you, but this was fabulous.
But it's
This
always
was
joyful.
yeah, inspiring. It really is.
Absolutely. It truly is. So we look forward to our guests next week. Be sure to check out April 5th
Yeah.
at James Madison's Montpelier. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks, Judah, behind the camera. He's back this
Welcome
week.
back, Judah.
Welcome
I
back.
didn't even recognize him. He looks like a different
Well, he's
person.
got his nice, fresh
absolutely.
haircut. He's looking good. He's looking sharp.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to now. I gotta start making sure I look good again.
Exactly. Well, you know what it is? He works at both ends. He makes us look good in front of the camera, and he looks good behind the
right.
camera. So that's what
He's probably thinking, "What do you mean? I didn't look good before? No, he looked great
No,
before.
he
He just looks a
always
little
looks
better."
great. He's always sharp. Always looking sharp, Judah. So thanks to Judah behind the camera. Thanks to I Love CVille Network and the set. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services for presenting. Of course, thank you to our great partners, Castle Hill Cider, Craddock Serious Insurance, Matias Yon Realty, and Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you all so much. Couldn't do the show without our great partners, and
Absolutely.
we couldn't do it especially without you, our audience. We just appreciate you all so much. We look forward to seeing you all next week. But until that time, as we always close on the show, hasta mañana. Great show.
Fantastic.
Love
Yeah.
it. You were both